Hello Bookstack. I learned something interesting about my camera yesterday, and it's that it also likes books very much, because I recorded this video yesterday and it was focused on the books the whole time, so I was blurry. So re-recording this video. Wanted to talk today about an article that I read online, which I thought was pretty interesting, and I'll put the link in the description below. And the article was about the need to educate yourself. And that's kind of, really in line with the idea or the vision behind this channel, is educating ourselves and taking charge of our education. We all have holes in our education. There are things that we didn't learn in school that it's important for us to know, and that we should take control of learning now that we're adults and we're outside of school. And so I wanted to talk about kind of going through that process. One thing about me, I have a couple of degrees, but one of the degrees I have is in economics, and I actually graduated from a 4-year college with a degree in economics and never read an actual book by an economist. I never read, Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith or anything by Keynes or, anyone else that helped to kind of formulate and shape economic policy. All we read were textbooks, right, which were derivatives or basically the thoughts of another author on the thoughts of that author. And so it was really second and third hand. And I can appreciate using secondary sources of education, which really textbooks, just saying, really should be a secondary source of education. And the primary source should be the actual works that they're referencing. It's great to have a textbook give commentary and give ideas and thoughts of that author on the works of another author, but if you're not familiar with the works of that author, it's really not going to help you as much as it could, because you're getting spoon-fed thoughts and spoon-fed ideas, and it's really getting you in the habit of something that I really want to break with this channel, is having other people think for you. You should be able to think for yourself. And one thing our schools, especially our colleges, don't teach us is a love for learning, a lust for learning, and how to learn, right? The tools for learning. And that's what I want to focus on here, is how do we learn? How do we educate ourselves? Another thing, I graduated college, again, a 4-year accredited school, and didn't have any math credits. I wanted to go back to school, and I wanted to get a doctorate in economics. I wanted to continue on with my schooling. The schools that I wanted to apply to had a preference for students who had a concentration in math or an actual math degree. So I went back to college. I applied, actually went to the University of North Florida and met with the dean of the School of Math there. And he said, well, let me pull your transcripts and see what sort of math credits you already have, see what we can work with. And he actually said, you have no math credits. I mean, you have like statistics for economics, but again, that's not a math credit. I had one other math-related class, but it wasn't an actual math credit for the math school to go towards a math degree. So because you're starting from the very beginning, you don't even have college algebra. Think about that. I graduated from a 4-year college. I had never taken calculus. So I applied to go back. But before I did that, I had to pass a test. In high school, I hated math. I didn't like it. I always get my worst grades in math. I didn't understand it. I didn't appreciate it. And so it was kind of interesting for me to go back for math. But I read a book called Mathematical Mysteries by a guy named Calvin C. Clausen. And he went to the beginning of basically time, not really time, but way back at the beginning of the invention of math, back when people were keeping count on sticks, right? They didn't even have a system of numbers. They were etching marks into bones, and this is how they kept track of numbers, all the way up to advanced calculus, bounded harmonic functions, just crazy chaos math and all this. It's just crazy stuff. And as he went through it, what I found was, as he was explaining it and as he was teaching me step by step, principle by principle, I began to get an appreciation and an actual love for math. I found that I didn't like it. It was distasteful to me because I didn't understand it. And that's the beauty in educating yourself, in educating the world, educating yourself about the world around you, because the more you learn about things, the more you appreciate them. It's kind of like your wife or a best friend or a loved one, a relative. The more you learn about them, sometimes the more you love them and the more you appreciate them, the better you understand them. And so I took it upon myself, I'm going to show you, went through these, right? Not a sponsor, right? You could maybe you can see, maybe you can't. These are for dummies books, right? Algebra for Dummies, Algebra 2 for Dummies, an Algebra workbook, Trigonometry for Dummies, and a Calculus workbook for Dummies. I did. I went and I read these. I read them. I went online. I went on YouTube. I went on a few different websites and basically taught myself math. There were holes in my education that I had to fill, and if I was going to fill them, I had to educate myself. I took it upon myself and I did that. The importance of understanding the world around you. I was reading in this book the other day, right? People's History of the United States, and they were working on founding a nation. And part of that was something called pamphleteering, where these guys would write these pamphlets. One of the most famous was this guy, Thomas Paine, and one of his most popular, one of the most successful pamphlets he ever wrote was Common Sense. And in the book, People's History of the United States, he was talking about you couldn't hardly find a person in colonial America who had not read, or at least was familiar with the precepts of common sense, by Thomas Paine. You know, interesting topic, interesting name. But what's interesting is today, a lot of us probably don't know who Thomas Paine is, what Common Sense is about, why he wrote it, when he wrote it. And it's kind of a shame, because these were the ideas. These ideas helped form our nation, and the Constitution, the Republic. It helped motivate people to become part of the revolution, to fight against Britain and become an independent country. So back then, it was highly prized to read and be familiar with the ideas and concepts of the day. And that's what I want for us to have, is be familiar with the ideas and concepts of the day, to be able to converse about them and have our own thoughts and come to our own conclusions about them, so that we cannot be deceived, and we're not spoon-fed ideas that may or may not be accurate or logical. I read an article, or not an article, but a quote the other day by Mark Twain. It says, "The man who does not read good books is no better than he who cannot read them." And so if you are literate but you don't read, you're basically illiterate. What would be the purpose of having the ability to read if you don't? And that really kind of struck me. Do I read enough? Am I pursuing enough? Am I educating and continue to grow my mind enough? And so I hope that it motivates you and educates you on these ideas. Again, the link's going to be in the description. I really hope you click on that link and you read the article, and then leave your ideas and your thoughts about the article in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.